The Russian President Vladimir Putin is warning that not enough has been done to fight terrorism. Putin made the remarks in a meeting with the British Premier on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Turkey.
The recent tragic events in France prove that we have to, and we should have done it long time ago, unite efforts to fight such evil as terrorism. But as for bilateral relations, unfortunately, we're going through not the best time. It seems to me that there is a need to analyze everything positive, which has been done earlier, to look towards the future and to work out concrete plans of developing our relations.
Putin also said that the ISIL terrorists are being financially backed by 40 countries, including some countries that participated in the G20 summit. Britain's Prime Minister David Cameron, for his part, said that Moscow and London must work together to defeat the ISIL terrorists. Relations between Russia and Britain have turned sour over the crisis in Ukraine, as well as Moscow's stance on the war on Syria. Earlier, a source in Cameron's office said that Britain is hopeful that the meeting would pave the way for deeper conversation about the situation in Syria. Marcus Papadopoulos is a publisher and editor of First Politics, joining us to tell us more about this. Well, you know, when we take a look at what Russia has said, and now Britain is coming to Russia to talk about this, the U.S. is also thinking of participating with Russia. Why should it get down to this for these countries now to realize that perhaps they should cooperate with Russia on this war against the terrorists?
Well, first of all, it's very important to say that the West has a long history of working with Islamists, Islamic extremists, in order to achieve geostrategic objectives. They worked with bin Laden in the 1980s in Afghanistan against the Russians. They worked with Islamists in Bosnia in the 1990s against the Bosnian Serbs. They worked with Islamist fighters in Libya in 2011 to bring down Colonel Gaddafi. And they have been supporting Islamist groups in Syria against the Syrian government to try and bring down the Syrian government. And those countries are principally America and then Britain and France. But I'm not particularly optimistic that despite the shocking and appalling attacks in Paris, which we saw last Friday night, I'm not optimistic that the Americans, the British and the French will start working effectively with the Russians. Because when I say working effectively with the Russians, what that means is that the Americans and the British and the French would have to coordinate any air attacks in Syria against ISIS with the Syrian army. If they don't work with the Syrian army, which is the heart and soul in the fight against ISIS and all other Islamist groups in Syria, then the military efforts of Washington, London and Paris, quite frankly, are going to be futile. And we've seen in the last year and a bit, the American air attacks against ISIS have been an abject failure because they will not coordinate their actions with the Syrian army.
And quickly, if you can, I think the former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and Democratic presidential hopeful maybe said it best when he said that Turkey and some of these other Persian Gulf countries need to make their mind up whether they want to support these terrorists or not.
Well, I wouldn't want to pay any credit to someone like Hillary Clinton, but the reality is that Turkey, Saudi Arabia and Qatar have been financing, training and supporting with logistical assistance terrorist groups in Syria, be it ISIS, be it al-Nusra, be it the Free Syrian Army, be it the Islamic Front. So, you know, they have got an immense amount of blood on their hands. And let's just state it very clearly, yes, Turkey, Saudi Arabia and Qatar have been actively supporting ISIS. They have been facilitating the arrival of ISIS fighters into Syria. Ignore Western media, ignore Western politicians when they say that all three countries, for example, Turkey, are fighting against ISIS as well. No, they're not. They're playing a duplicitous role in Syria, and they deserve to be exposed for it.
Thank you for that. We appreciate it. Marcus Papadopoulos there, publisher and editor of First Politics.